Hi, welcome to Community Central. I'm your hostess, Rachel Gaston. And one particular issue, divorce. Divorce is something that we see so prevalent in our society that it's something that we really need to look at. We're finding out that more than 50% of couples who are getting married, their marriage is ending in divorce. But there are alternatives out there, and we found that there's one called Bright Leaf Counseling and Recovering. And today we're going to speak with Darlene Dezo, and she's going to tell us about what her services are, but mostly we're going to talk about this thing called marriage and problems and how spiritually you can get it back together. How are you doing today, Darlene?
I'm doing good.
That's good. I'm kind of touched by this show because myself, I am a divorcee. So I know that I did go to counseling one time. That was the only time we could actually agree to go. And that's the first thing that I want to bring out about why do you think so many couples actually are going through divorce right now?
Well, for one thing, there's such a deep aspect of every individual. And when you marry somebody, you're marrying so many aspects of that person. And a lot of times the person doesn't know who they really are, or they don't know how to deal with their feelings or thoughts. And so when somebody asks me to speak about spirituality and marriage, the first thing I think of is the wonderful creation of God, the individual. And if that individual, and I'll explain this more later, isn't married to their self, it's like Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man." That means to yourself and others.
Okay. And so here's this thing called counseling. And plus not only just counseling, but you have on there recovery. And first thing came to my mind, you think about someone that drugs, when you think about recovery. Mm-hmm. And to put that word with marriage and divorce and stuff, that's good, because it is like recovering what you've lost. So for instance, when you talk about couples, each other, that person is you. I think about, like it talks about Adam and Eve, for instance, she came from his rib and everything. So really when they came together, they became one. So in that sense, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are the type of things that you're seeing that people are having problems with that are causing them to go through divorce?
Well, they don't understand how to deal with their feelings and thoughts. And we all have perceptions. God made us that way. And if we don't understand our perceptions about sometimes that they're very inaccurate, or we misperceive about someone, or even why we're feeling the way we feel. So it's real important to talk about the feelings and get in touch where that's coming from. And it can be a little tricky, and sometimes you need a little help. Sometimes you don't.
Okay. So for instance, you have a couple that, and it always starts out so beautiful in the beginning, but then as time goes, you start seeing little things that you accepted in the beginning, and it usually turns into something that just absolutely irks you. So how do you help people with something like that, for instance? Because it could be the way a person squeezes the toothpaste. I mean, it'd be small things like that, that this one squeezes it from the bottom, this one squeezes it from the top. How do you help them deal with stuff like that?
Okay, that's good. Because that's so true. Well, first of all, they need to understand that in any relationship, as you said, that it starts out all honeymoon and all that stuff, and then they get real. REAL. And because feelings are coming up, and anytime you're approaching intimacy with an individual, these feelings come up, and it could be past-driven feelings from your childhood, buried feelings, because anytime with our feelings, if we don't deal with them, if we bury them alive, so to speak, they'll come back up in some other way. And something that usually wouldn't be irritating becomes very irritating. And it's usually they don't feel like there's a clear understanding or total respect for them. They don't feel as respected or even loved. They're not feeling it.
Right.
So then frustration comes and they start pointing the finger or whatever.
Okay. And you see that a lot, I know, with the male side of it, because, that's something they're driven on, respect. I know even in the Bible, it tells the woman to respect her husband and that he loves her. That's how they're told in the Bible. And there's a reason for it, because a man has to have that respect. And so if he feels like he's not being respected, then things kind of change a little bit. So here it is. You have a couple say that they come in and they're dealing with that type of issue. How can they resolve a marriage dealing with that type of issue, that maybe he's feeling like he's not being respected?
Okay. A real important aspect is that there are so many differences between men and women. We need the respect too, but in a different way. We come from our right brain, and we're more open and nurturing and want to understand. Men come more for the left side of the brain, which is more of, let's fix it, let's get it over with.
Direct, let's get to it, yeah.
And they want to fix it. And most of the time women want to understand, they want to fix it too, but they want to be understood. So with a man and a woman, there are many different languages of love, and this can get really crossed, and that frustration and all that stuff can set in. And it's really truly about understanding each other, where they are, letting each other be real. But sometimes that takes a little help to get there, and that's where someone like me comes in.
Yes.
I can help a person see, because I can stand outside of it. I'm not in it.
That third person that can watch the interaction.
Yeah, so I can get a better view of it and see them who they really are, and bring that to light, and how they can communicate and understand these feelings and energies that come with that.
Okay.
Because all feelings are energy.
Okay. Do you see that a lot of problems that stem up in marriage does come from how a person was raised?
A lot, not all, but a lot. If it hasn't been dealt with, if they're still carrying things that happened to them that's unresolved, or perceptions about marriage that aren't true, that maybe their mom and dad thought so, but it wasn't true. Or it may have worked for their mom and dad, but it doesn't work for you.
Right.
It's not in your higher will, so to speak, which I think is connected to God.
Yes.
But your true self.
Okay. How do you deal with the person that doesn't want to come in? I didn't finish it in the beginning when I was talking about I went through divorce counseling one time. I think a few other times I went by myself, because I don't think that we were on one page when it came to that. So, how do you deal with that? Because I hear a lot of couples say, okay, yeah, maybe we need counseling, but then they can't agree where they want to go. Or this one feels like we need it. This one feels that we don't. How do they get this happy medium so they can come together and really go and be honest about it? Because it's not that the counselor is ganging up on one or the other. How do you deal with that? Because some people really need to come to counseling, but how do you get them there?
That's one of the hardest problems. A very good point that you bring up. A lot of times, and I'm not down in men, but a lot of times it's the woman that wants to come in. Like I said before, they're more open, generally, and they understand that need, and the guy just wants it fixed. But the thing to try to focus on for people is one of them may need to set some boundaries, and just step back and say, okay, this is what I need, and just give them some space and time. A lot of men need some space and time. They kind of need to go in their cave, so to speak. And we may need to back off a little and give them some space and time, but be very clear about what we're needing and what we think might work. And then go try some different people and see if there's one counselor that you both connect with. Because, not everyone connects with everybody. Another counselor may be good, another one may not.
Okay.
For you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, at this particular time where this session went, it went by pretty fast. She probably had me on the couch desk. Well, now what happened with you? But we're going to be back in just a little bit to talk even a bit more about Brightleaf, and your counseling services and everything, and let you expound a little bit more when you talk about the spiritual side of it and everything. So we'll be back after this break.